Man, this is the kind of matchup that football fans dream about. The Philadelphia Eagles marching into the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field to take on the Green Bay Packers. You can just feel the tension in the air, right? It's got that playoff energy, that edge where every snap, every yard, every mistake could change everything. This isn't just another regular season game. It feels like a postseason showdown dropped right in the middle of November. And what makes it even better? Both teams have everything to fight for. The Eagles are sitting on top of the NFC, fresh off a bye week that couldn't have gone any better for them. They didn't even step on the field, yet somehow everything fell perfectly into place. The Packers lost at home to the Carolina Panthers. The Detroit Lions got stunned by the Minnesota Vikings, and every single rival in the NFC East took a hit. That's what you call a dream weekend. So here we are, looking at a team that's 6-2 on the season, 5-1 in the conference, holding that precious number 1 seed in the NFC. And if you're an Eagles fan, you know just how important that is, because getting that top spot means controlling your destiny. They've already beaten Tampa Bay, so they've got that tiebreaker locked in. They've taken care of the Rams, they're sitting comfortably ahead of Seattle, and next week, they've got Detroit on deck. But first, it's Green Bay, and that's no easy task. This game means a lot for both sides. The Packers are desperate to prove they belong among the elite again, while the Eagles are trying to solidify their dominance. And when you put those two mindsets together under the cold Wisconsin sky, you get one thing: chaos. The forecast says temperatures could drop to 25 degrees at kickoff, feeling more like 17 with the wind chill. No snow expected, but that biting cold is going to hit hard. You can almost see the players' breath hanging in the air under those stadium lights. It's football in its purest, most brutal form. Let's talk about Green Bay for a second. The Packers have been a bit of a roller coaster this year. When they're clicking, they look unstoppable. When they're off, they fall apart. One week, they're lighting up the scoreboard. The next, they're struggling to move the chains. Still, statistically, they've been solid, 11th in points per game, 8th in total yards, and 5th in yards per play. That tells you this team can move the ball. They're also the second-best third-down offense in the entire league, converting almost half of their chances. The issue, though, comes inside the red zone. They're good, but not great, just over 60% success when it's time to punch it in. Against Carolina, that inconsistency cost them big. Defensively, it's been kind of the same story. On paper, they're one of the better units in the NFL, top 10 in both points and yards allowed. They don't give up many big plays either, sitting near the top of the league in yards per play allowed. But once teams get deep into their territory, they tend to bend a little too much. Their red zone defense ranks in the bottom third of the NFL, and that's a problem when you're facing an offense as efficient as Philadelphia's. Now about those Eagles. Before the bye, this team was on fire. Their offensive numbers jumped after back-to-back statement wins over Minnesota and the New York Giants. They're averaging over 26 points per game, sitting comfortably in the top 10, and they've found their rhythm again. Sure, they're still in the middle of the pack in total yards, but the big difference lately has been their explosiveness. Plays downfield, power runs, creative play calling. It all started to click. And if there's one stat that defines them, it's their dominance in the red zone. 85% touchdown rate when they get inside the 20. That's not just good, that's elite. Defensively, it's been a little more of a grind. They're middle of the pack in most categories, but what stands out is their resilience. They bend, but they rarely break. Vic Fangio's defense isn't built to be flashy. It's built to frustrate. Force field goals instead of touchdowns. Get off the field on critical downs and let the offense handle the rest. And so far, it's been working just fine. But the storyline heading into this one goes beyond stats. The Packers are missing a key piece, tight in Tucker Kraft, who tore his ACL last week. That's a huge blow. He was emerging as one of the top young playmakers in the league, a guy who could block like a lineman and catch like a receiver. Losing him changes everything for Green Bay's offense. Without Kraft, Jordan Love loses a safety valve, especially in those tight, cold-weather games where short passes and timing routes matter. That's where the Eagles' linebackers come in. Nakobe Dean, Zach Bond, Jair Campbell. These guys are going to have to step up in coverage and help shut down the middle of the field. Fangio's rotation at linebacker has been interesting all year, and now's the time to see if that experimentation pays off. Dean's been getting more snaps and showing promise, especially against the run. Campbell, on the other hand, has been used more as a situational rusher. So, it's going to be fascinating to see how Fangio adjusts his schemes without having to worry about Kraft tearing them apart down the seam. Offensively, the Eagles just need to stay in rhythm. The 2 games before the bye showed flashes of what this unit can really be when everything's clicking. Against the Vikings, it was all about precision passing. Jalen Hurts carving up a top defense through the air, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Against the Giants, it was the opposite, pure domination on the ground. They ran for nearly 300 yards, and Saquon Barkley had one of his best games in an Eagles uniform. That's the balance they've been searching for. When they can attack both ways, they're nearly impossible to stop. And speaking of Jalen Hurts, the guy's putting together an MVP-caliber season. 20 total touchdowns with just 2 turnovers. That's efficiency on another level. He's spreading the ball around, making smart decisions, and showing complete command of the offense. When he's locked in like this, it's not just about stats. It's about leadership. You can tell his teammates believe in him, and that confidence shows up in the way this team plays. For Green Bay, it all comes down to Jordan Love. When he's protected, he can sling it with the best of them. He got the arm talent, he's accurate, and he plays fearless. But if you get to him early, if you hit him a few times, the whole tone of the game changes. The Eagles' defensive front knows this. They've seen what pressure does to Love. In his career against Philadelphia, he struggled. Only 3 touchdowns and 4 picks across 3 games. The Eagles have a history of rattling him, and if they can do that again, it could be a long night for Green Bay. One thing to watch is the Packers' run defense. They've been solid for most of the year, top 10 against the run, but last week against Carolina, they got exposed. Rico Dowdle ran all over them. More than 100 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a constant presence that kept Green Bay on its heels. That's something the Eagles will look to exploit. When Saquon Barkley gets at least 15 carries this year, Philadelphia hasn't lost a game. Combine that with Tank Bigsby's power and speed, and you've got a backfield built for cold weather football. The Eagles' offensive line deserves some love too. Against New York, they finally started winning those one-on-one matchups again. Blocking assignments were sharp, receivers contributed downfield, and the run game flowed like it was supposed to. That's the kind of execution that wins games in November and December. You don't need flashy plays. You need consistency, and this group seems to have found that groove again. And let's not forget about the new faces Philly added before the bye. Michael Carter in the secondary, Jalen Phillips off the edge, and veteran corner Jay Alexander. Each one of them brings something different to the table. Carter gives them flexibility in the slot, and some help at safety if needed. Phillips knows Fangio's system and should blend in quickly as a situational pass rusher. And Alexander, well, he's a bit of a question mark. He's coming off an injury and didn't look quite like himself in Baltimore, but he's got experience. And against his former team, you know he'll have extra motivation. The big question is how much these guys actually play. Fangio might ease them in, but in a game like this, depth could make all the difference. If Carter locks down the slot and Phillips can get a few key pressures, that might be enough to tilt the balance. Everything about this matchup screams physical, emotional, high-stakes football. 2 of the best teams in the NFC clashing under the lights, with the conference picture hanging in the balance. The Packers looking to protect home turf. The Eagles trying to prove they're still the standard. You could just tell this one's going down to the wire. When you think about what it takes to win in Lambeau Field, especially in the bitter cold, it always comes down to who can handle the elements and who can impose their will. The Eagles know that kind of football. They're built for it. Physical up front, disciplined on defense, and led by a quarterback who thrives when the lights are brightest. But this game isn't going to be easy. The Packers might not have Tucker Kraft, but they still have plenty of weapons. Christian Watson is a vertical threat every time he's on the field. Romeo has become a reliable option in the short and intermediate game, and Jaden Reed continues to grow into one of the most underrated young receivers in the league. The Eagles' secondary will have their hands full trying to contain all that speed and creativity. That's where the pass rush becomes critical. If Jalen Carter, Josh Sweat, and Hasten Reddick can win those battles in the trenches, it could completely disrupt Green Bay's rhythm. The cold weather can slow down an offense that relies on timing routes and quick releases, and if the Eagles' front four can collapse the pocket early, it's going to make Jordan Love uncomfortable. The key is to not let him find that early rhythm. When he's forced to throw off balance or move out of structure, mistakes follow. And that's where guys like Darius Slay and Reed Blankenship can capitalize. One deflected ball, one tipped pass, and the whole momentum of a game like this can swing. But pressure works both ways. The Packers' defense is no joke, especially up front. Rashawn Gary, Kenny Clark, and Preston Smith are all capable of wrecking a game plan on their own. The Eagles' offensive line has to be disciplined, particularly in pass protection. Hurts can't afford to take unnecessary hits in weather like this, and timing between him and his receivers will be crucial. The cold makes the ball slick, the field harder, and the margin for error even smaller. You have to play smart, efficient football, the kind that travels well in November. And speaking of the run game, this could be where Philadelphia really separates itself. The Packers were exposed last week against Carolina, giving up more than 130 rushing yards to Rico Dowdle. That's not the kind of performance that inspires confidence heading into a matchup with Barkley and Bigsby. Both runners bring a different style. Barkley with his explosiveness and vision, Bigsby with his downhill power. And together, they can wear down a defense that's already struggling with tackling consistency. If the Eagles can establish that run game early, it'll open everything else up. Hurts won't have to force throws in freezing conditions, and the play-action game will come alive. You can expect offensive coordinator Brian Johnson to mix things up, keep Green Bay guessing, maybe throw in some design runs for Hurts or even a few RPO looks to stress the linebackers. The Packers' linebacking core is solid, but if they start biting on play fakes or overcommitting to the run, that's when Hurts hits them over the top with Devonta Smith or A.J. Brown. And let's be honest, A.J. Brown in the cold with that physical playing style, that's a nightmare for any cornerback try to tackle him in space. Now, when you flip it back to Green Bay, their offensive identity has been inconsistent all year. Some weeks, they look like they've figured it out. Other weeks, it's like they're still searching for answers. Losing Kraft hurts, no doubt, but they've still got Aaron Jones in the backfield. And Jones is the kind of player who can change a game even if he touches the ball only a handful of times. The Eagles' defensive front needs to focus on containing him, setting the edge, and forcing Green Bay into predictable passing situations. Fangio's defense is most effective when the opponent is behind the chains and has to throw. The battle between Jordan Love and Jalen Hurts might end up being the story of the night. Love's arm strength is undeniable, but his decision-making under pressure has been questionable. Hurts, on the other hand, seems to be entering that phase of his career where he just knows how to win, regardless of the circumstances. He doesn't panic, doesn't force plays that aren't there, and trusts the guys around him. That calmness might be the difference in a game that's going to test both teams mentally and physically. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest updates on our Philadelphia Eagles. And don't be shy. Share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Whispers are turning into a roar in NFL circles after SHEDEUR Sanders reportedly stirred the pot with comments about the Philadelphia Eagles that insiders are calling explosive. Sources close to the quarterback suggest that what started as casual trash talk quickly escalated into a storm of tension behind closed doors, leaving players and staff scrambling to contain the fallout. While the specifics of Sanders' remarks remain a closely guarded secret, those who've heard the snippets hint at a level of disrespect that has raised eyebrows across the league. The chatter is not just idle gossip. Multiple reports indicate that teammates and even rival front offices have taken notice, speculating on whether this could signal deeper friction within the squad, or perhaps a strategic mind game aimed at unsettling opponents before the season intensifies. Analysts are already dissecting every angle. Some suggest that Sanders' outspoken nature might be part of a deliberate effort to establish dominance, while others warn it could backfire, creating unnecessary drama that distract from performance on the field. The Eagles, known for their strong locker room culture, are reportedly monitoring the situation closely. Staffers are said to be weighing whether a public response is necessary or if internal discussions will suffice to diffuse tensions. Meanwhile, social media has exploded with fans dissecting the possible implications, with hashtags and memes circulating at a dizzying pace. The narrative is fueled not just by the comments themselves, but by the aura of unpredictability that Sanders brings to any situation. League insiders are split. Some view this as a classic case of a young player pushing boundaries to assert his presence, while others believe it could hint at upcoming moves, trades, contract negotiations, or even a bold challenge to the status quo in Philly. Whatever the case, one thing is clear. The rumor mill is spinning at full speed, and the NFL world can't stop talking about it. In a sport where mental edge is as crucial as physical skill, Sanders' remarks might be more than mere chatter. They could be the opening salvo in a season-long story that no one saw. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Philadelphia Eagles, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.